I'm 16 and just got my first paycheck from my first job. My parents think they are entitled to it and took it from me. Okay, so I, 16F, just got my first job like a month ago. Last week, I got my first ever paycheck, which was really exciting. Now, one of the main reasons I got a job was so I could cover some of my own non-essential expenses, clothes, stuff for hobbies, room decor, some food, since my mother, 52F, is a Psalm, always has been, and I didn't want to be a burden for my father, 56M. Before I even got my first paycheck, I had budgeted exactly how much I wanted to spend and what I wanted to spend it on, since I didn't want to blow it all. My plan was to save at least half and spend what I didn't save. I'll admit, I did spoil myself a bit, got some new clothes, a new sewing machine, and am gonna nails done. All of this was only like $180 out of $500, but I also gave a portion to the church as per my mother's request. I plan to put the rest of this in savings and not touch it. My mother is terrible with money. Like, blow through $800 in one day type of terrible. She's also always asking someone in my family for money like my dad, or my siblings, 22M and 21F, and usually they give it to her. But my sister's rent has went up and her work hours have been cut, so she doesn't have money to give out like she used to. And my brother isn't working because he's only home for the summer. My father also has some new expenses to pay, so basically, nobody has handouts for her anymore. So she decided to come to me. Since I first received my paycheck, she's been acting kind of weird. Like when I got it, she wouldn't leave me alone until I told her how much it was, even though I wasn't comfortable sharing that information with anyone. And then she started talking about how, in her culture, I'm a first-gen American, the entirety of a child's first paycheck is given to the parents as an offering and a way to show thanks for raising them. I told her that it's a good thing I wasn't born where she was, so I don't have to do that, and I thought she would stop. But she brought up how it's been so long since she got a pedicure. It's been literally 3 weeks. I said okay, and then she asked me if I would pay for it. I gave her $30, how much our regular nail salon charges for pedicures, and she got upset and said it wasn't enough. I told her that I didn't have any more to spare, and she said I was being greedy. Okay, whatever. Then, we went grocery shopping, which she paid for, as usual, with my brother's EBT card. I got a few snacks/ingredients and my food came up to like $27, which isn't bad since I share my snacks with my siblings and I cook for them too. But then, my mother starts complaining like, if you're gonna eat all that, then you're gonna have to start paying for it too. It's rude to try and bankrupt your brother. I was upset that she was making comments on my eating habits. She's always making comments about my body, and also frustrated that she was trying to milk more money out of me. So I just told her to put all my snacks and stuff down and that I didn't need them really anyway. She got even more upset and said I was making a scene and being spoiled, but I just ignored her. The thing is though, it's not just her. My father is acting like this too. First, I took a shower. I do take kind of long showers, like usually 30-ish minutes, but this was never a problem until now. He literally stormed into the bathroom. Like he actually slammed the door open, super uncomfortable for me but WTVR, and told me that if I was going to be wasting his water then I was going to have to start pitching in for the water bill. And he was serious. So now I don't shower when he's home to avoid conflicts like this. And then, he told me to give him $50 to send to his family back home. I asked if he would pay me back, and he said he shouldn't have to, since he's never asked me to pay him back for raising me. Basically, maybe I'm actually just being too stingy? They're not wrong that they never asked me to pay them back for raising me. So maybe I do owe it to them? But also like, I really don't make that much, and I think I should be allowed to spend my money how I want to. I'm literally going into my senior year, which is so expensive already, and I don't want to spend all my money in the case of an emergency. I just really want to save, and they're not letting me do that. But if they're entitled, or maybe I am. Sorry if this is too long. Edit. OMG, I don't know how I forgot this, since this was actually really upsetting and the whole reason I made this post, but like a few days ago, I fell asleep on the couch, with my phone unlocked I guess, and like right after I dozed off, I feel someone grab my phone, which was next to my head, and so I wake up, and I look at her all confused and ask her to give it back and she did. But she forgot, or doesn't know how, to close recently used apps, so when I opened the phone, I saw that she had opened the Zelle app. And I don't want to accuse her of anything, but I feel like if I'd woke up any later, she probably would have sent herself money or something. But that was really weird. Edit 2. This has nothing to do with my title/story, but my mother just told me I was disappointing because I told her I would vacuum later since I have really bad cramps right now. Rude. To respond to a couple things, I keep seeing/clearing things up. Sorry for taking 30-minute showers, lol. Sorry that it's a tough pill for me to swallow that a bunch of strangers on the internet are calling my parents abusive. I'm not saying anyone's wrong or right, and I seriously appreciate that you're all trying to help, but I'm not refusing solutions, or it's just a lot to handle by myself. I'm kind of against talking to a trusted adult about all this, but it's not willful ignorance or anything. I don't have any close family, so the only options would be a therapist or a school counselor. I can't see a therapist because my mother is anti-therapy, and talking to a school counselor is risky because she's required to tell CPS. And a case like that would put my mother at a pretty high risk of deportation. It's pretty personal and I don't want into it. But there's that. I know it sounds like I'm being forced, but I am seriously a practicing Christian and I enjoy giving to the church. I never minded giving to the church. It was just that the amount I was expected to give, 10% of my pay, was a lot considering what I was earning. Relevant comments. Commenter. If you have another adult in your life that you trust, get them to open an account with you because your parents will take the money you put into your savings account if their names are on it, and there will be nothing you can do to stop them. OP. My father's name is on my account. Does this mean he has access to my money? Commenter. Abusive AF. Also that he can enter the bathroom. Can't you lock? Do you have SB to talk to? OP. I'm now allowed to lock any of the doors in the house. They think that means I'm hiding something. And ick who I would talk to, uneasy face. I don't think they're abusive. They're actually nice to me quite often. Money is just one thing they're not nice about. My dad came from a less fortunate background and my mom is used to being spoiled. She's the youngest girl of like 13 siblings and her family comes from money. Commenter. Sounds like you're rejecting all sensible solutions. What is your end goal? OP. Ick, but I'm literally just scared. Everyone's saying that my parents are being abusive, which is something I've never really thought before, and telling me to move my money and defend myself, which is all easier said than done. I seriously appreciate the solutions, and I wish it were that easy, but put yourself in my shoes for a second. I know my parents and I know how they'll react and what that can mean for me, which is why I might be apprehensive about some of the solutions I've been given. Update 1. It's been a while. I kind of stopped replying to comments and stuff because they were getting kind of overwhelming, but THX for everyone who took the time to respond. If you didn't read / don't feel like it, basically I got my first job and my first paycheck, $500. And my parents felt like all of my money was rightfully theirs. Long story short, I ended up with $180 left of $500, and only $100 of those dollars were towards myself. Now for the actual update. So since my last paycheck, nothing has gotten better at all, lol. I ended up giving up a total of like $200 to my parents for whatever they wanted, but they still wanted more. Like first, I had to pay for my own senior pictures, which was cool or whatever, but kind of surprising because none of my siblings ever had to do that. Then they started asking me for gas money. Like, I had to go to the library, which is probably a 2-minute drive from my house. I would have walked, but am literally not allowed to lol. And my mother was yelling at me and saying that if I was going to use her car, then I was going to have to put gas in it, which would be reasonable, except they don't make anyone else do that. Like my 22-year-old brother actually drives their car and my mother gives him money out of my father's paycheck to put gas in it. But he's her favorite, so I guess it makes sense. Also, my father kept calling me stingy. Like, every day. Like I would just be sitting eating dinner, and he would come to me and be like, my daughter, good at so many things but so stingy. And it started getting to me, so I would try and explain that I didn't have any more money until I got paid again. Then I got paid yesterday. It was like $500 again, and I was trying to hide it. Like I transferred the money from my bank ACC to my Cash App so that my father wouldn't see that I had any money, and if they asked then I could play dumb. But today when I got home my parents started interrogating me. Like they were asking me how if I got paid or if I knew how much I was going to get paid. And I was lying and saying no. But then my father literally pulled out a paper copy of my pay stub lol. My job still mails those out and my parents open all my mail, packages, college letters, school forms, etc. So unless I'm constantly intercepting the mail, they might always know how much I'm getting paid. Then my mother was mad at me because last paycheck I paid for her pedicure, and now she wants a manicure and her hair done. I tried to tell her I didn't have money, but she refused to believe that and said that if I couldn't give her money, then I couldn't eat the food she worked so hard to make. She cooked today. So I just gave her $80 for her nails cause I'm over arguing. This is kind of a sidetrack, but it's important-ish. But my parents arguing right now. My father is spending significantly more money out of all of his paychecks because of something that my Psalm committed them to financially. But the thing is that she still expects to be able to keep up with all of her self-maintenance, clothes, nails, hair, etc. Long story short, she said that she didn't need his money anyway. And so when I sent her the money for her nails, she was bragging to him about how I gave her money and not him. So then my father was upset because he thinks I only sent her money because we're both women. He said it kind of harsher than that. He has misogynistic tendencies because of the culture he was raised in. So I ended up just giving him $80 to even it out. And I gave them both $30 extra for gas money, so they would stay off my ass. It should be over, right? No, it's not. Because I got in trouble for lying about getting paid. They think I'm lying because I plan on blowing it all on myself, which isn't true. I was gonna save this check to make up for what I spent of the last one, but now they think I'm selfish, stingy, and financially irresponsible. So they're gonna start limiting my spending of my own money. And the school year and my birthday are around the corner. And I'm pretty sure they're not gonna let me go out to dinner for my birthday like I planned. But that's not a money thing. I'm just not really allowed to go out. There's so much more I could say about my parents, but that could probably be 15 different posts. And if they'd even be appropriate for this sub LOL. But thanks for reading if you do. I'm sorry if this makes not a lot of sense. I'm just really tired. Like I'm over this whole thing. I wish I had somewhere else to vent, but I literally don't. Thanks for listening PPL. Rent. At 16, I tried to argue, saying I barely made enough as it is and that I'm saving for college. My dad cut me off, saying that since I was earning, I should be contributing. My mom backed him up, saying I needed to learn responsibility. I was fuming but had no choice. They set the rent at $100 a month. I felt like crying. As if that wasn't enough, later that night, my mom pulled another stunt. She asked to borrow my phone, just to make a call. I hesitated but handed it over. 5 minutes later, I got it back, but something felt off. I checked my bank app and, sure enough, she had transferred $50 to herself. I confronted her, and she played dumb, saying she didn't know how it happened. Yeah, right. I was done. I texted my older sister, 21F, who's living on her own now, and explained everything. She was furious. She drove over the next day and had a huge fight with our parents. She demanded they stop taking my money and even threatened to call CPS. My parents were shocked and tried to calm her down, but she wasn't having it. I've never seen her so angry. After the showdown, my sister took me out for ice cream and told me I could move in with her if things got worse. It was the first time I felt hopeful in weeks. I'm seriously considering it, but I'm scared of what my parents might do if I leave. Update 3. So, I took your advice and moved some of my important stuff into a lockbox. I hid it in a place I knew my parents wouldn't find it, not giving away my secrets here. Things have been pretty tense at home since my sister's visit. My parents are on edge, and I'm walking on eggshells trying to avoid any more conflicts. Here's where things get even crazier. My dad's family from back home needed money for some urgent medical expenses, and my dad, of course, came to me. He demanded I give him $200, claiming it was a matter of life and death. I felt horrible because it did seem serious, but I knew once I gave him that money, I'd never see it again. Plus, I didn't even have that much left after all the rent and random expenses they've been making me cover. I told him I could only spare $50, and he lost it. He called me ungrateful and selfish, and it escalated into this huge argument. He said if I wasn't going to help family, then I didn't deserve to live under his roof. That was the last straw for me. I decided right then and there that I was going to take my sister up on her offer. I secretly packed a bag with some clothes and essentials and waited until everyone was asleep. Then, I called my sister, and she came to pick me up. Sneaking out felt like something out of a movie. My heart was pounding the entire time. When I got to her place, I felt this huge weight lift off my shoulders. For the first time in forever, I felt free. The next morning, my phone was blowing up with calls and texts from my parents. They were furious, demanding to know where I was and when I'd be back. I ignored the calls and only responded with a text telling them I was safe and staying with my sister for a while. That set off another wave of angry messages, but I just turned my phone off and tried to relax. Living with my sister has been amazing. She's super supportive and has been helping me figure out my next steps. I managed to get my direct deposit switched to my new bank account, and my sister helped me set up a budget so I can start saving more effectively. It's been a huge relief not having to constantly worry about my money being taken. But, of course, the drama didn't end there. A couple of days ago, my mom showed up at my sister's apartment. She started crying and begging me to come home, saying that my dad was really sorry and that things would change. I didn't believe her for a second. I told her I needed more time and that I wasn't ready to come back yet. She tried to guilt trip me, saying I was tearing the family apart, but I stood my ground. Eventually, she left, but I know this isn't the end of it. I've been talking to my sister about finishing my senior year while living with her. It's a bit complicated because of school district rules, but she's willing to drive me if it comes to that. I'm also looking into getting some therapy to deal with all this stress, even though I know my mom would hate that.